afternoon, everybody. Let's go ahead and get started. Just reviewing the team coming out of last week's game. Really came out of the game very healthy. Offensively, no significant injuries to mention. We're still waiting on Dalton Morgan. His availability for this upcoming week is probably doubtful. He's just fighting a viral type infection that just isn't going away. So that's Dalton's situation. But overall, pretty healthy. Mikhail McCall was able to perform for us, did well, and I expect that he'll get healthier here this week also. So positive news on the offensive side. Defensively, we did have Jason DeMonch go down. Was available to come back to play. We did not play him, but we're anticipating that he'll be healthy for this upcoming week also. And in the secondary came through there also pretty healthy. And special teams, there'll be no changes going into this weekend with the special teams. So that's kind of our situation, nothing new with the injury report. Our schedule will be a little different just because we are on fall break. So tomorrow our practice time has been bumped up. We'll be on the field at noon and conduct a normal type Tuesday practice, and we'll move everything up accordingly to kind of take advantage of the free day. And then Wednesday and Thursday will be normal days for us, and then the Friday, Saturday will be our normal home game schedule that we have. Just kind of coming out of the weekend, visiting with the team, looking at the conference race. It's one of those conferences again that week in, week out, you need to be ready to play. A lot of things can happen between now and the end of the season, so we're excited to be in the mix and working hard to stay in the mix. This upcoming week, we're getting ready for Northern Iowa, which is a team that has always given us great games. It's a team that we're very excited to play just because I do think it brings out the best in us. It's usually a very competitive game, and a lot of times there's a lot of significance tied in with this game. And even though both teams right now may not have the records that we wanted at this point in time, I still think this is a pretty significant game, and for each team to continue their quest. So there's a lot riding on it. You look at their schedule. They're coming off of a brutal schedule, just with Wisconsin and Iowa, and then conference games at North Dakota State and Youngstown. So they're at 1-4, but they're ranked 25th in the country. So that kind of tells you the respect that their program has, and to be 1-4 and still have a national ranking, they're a good football team. You look at their numbers are impressive coming off of that stretch. They got an offense that's averaging about 371 yards per game. Their defense has given up some yardage, but again, considering the competition, you're looking up at a defense that's only given up 365 yards per game, and they're scoring over 30 points per game offensively. Some of their top performers, I think the player that really has impressed me is their quarterback, freshman quarterback, Sawyer Cole-Morgan. He doesn't look like a freshman out there, and I think with each game that he's played, he's become more and more confident. They have two excellent backs in David Johnson and Carlos Anderson. Those guys are not only involved in the run game, but they're highly involved in the passing game also, so they'll hit them out of the backfield quite often. And they do have a receiving core that's very talented. I think led by Terrell Sinkfield, who is kind of a big play threat anytime he touches the ball. And if you look at their offensive line, they returned 4 of the 5 starters from last year, and they're huge. Their offensive tackles are 6'7", 6'8", and their guards and center are all 6'5". Everyone's 300 plus pounds, so it's a big offensive front, and they can do a lot with those type of schemes that they're running. Defensively, they're very solid defense, very gutsy. They did have some shoes to fill from the year before. They had a kind of a senior-dominated front seven, but I think they've done a good job in filling those spots. Their secondary is very experienced. They got 4 seniors right now that are in the secondary. 3 of them were starters last year for them. And again, just looking at their competition and how they were defending teams like Wisconsin and Iowa, they did a very good job limiting programs like that, limiting their success. So our hands will be full dealing with this defense. And the other area that's very impressive, they got 2 of the best kickers, I think, in the conference. Tyler Sievertson is their kicker. His leg strength has gotten better, very consistent. Field goals he made, I think his longest is 49. It was against Iowa, impressive kick. The punter, Kyle Bernard, he's averaging over 47 yards per punt, so this is an area that they're very strong in. Plus with their kickoff return, Carlos Anderson, who's also the running back, is a return specialist. He's another guy that we need to be aware of because he does put up some pretty impressive return numbers. So that's the challenge that's in front of us as far as getting ready this week, and we're excited to be playing Northern Iowa. So, questions?
I think one of the fun things of watching college ball is to see a new guy come up and get a chance, and sometimes it's just a random chance because somebody gets injured. Could you talk a little bit about Tyler Williamson and how he had such a great performance this time, or is he either just getting comfortable or what?
Well, Tyler Williamson, another one of those good stories, was originally recruited by Bowling Green, then ended up transferring to a junior college, was a quarterback out of high school, was playing safety. At the JC level, we recruit him as an outside backer, so yeah, he's still learning the defense. I think he's carried over some of his quarterback traits as far as being a student of the game. He spends a lot of time up here by himself watching film, preparing himself for game situations, just like he was thrown in to last Saturday. And it is nice to see when a young man that's been working hard to contribute gets an opportunity and then to succeed to the level that he did on Saturday. He was well prepared for that football game and that opportunity that presented itself. So, and he has a couple years in front of him, so he'll be a guy that hopefully will continue to develop and get better and continue making plays for us.
Coach, what's the danger in facing a 1-4 football team, so to say? I know, like you mentioned, the record's really deceiving.
Right. Again, with that's something that the media looks at. We don't look at it. It's Northern Iowa. You don't have to. They could be 5-0. It doesn't matter. This is going to be a game that our guys are excited to play. Nobody is looking past them. There's records and stats just mean nothing to us in our preparation for this game.
You mentioned you were impressed with our quarterback. What about him is so impressive?
Just his maturity, his awareness of pocket presence, his ability to make quick reads. He has a very quick release. He makes throws that you wouldn't anticipate a freshman making. Very confident, difficult throws. Now he might give you an opportunity every now and then for a pick, but at the same time, he has a lot of faith in his receivers to make the play, and he's going to put the ball in the area.
What was the most important takeaway for you guys from Saturday's game as a team?
Well, as a team, just probably the most positive. There was never a sense of panic. We've been into some defensive battles now, and it's something where our guys understand how that feels. There wasn't any type of frustration on the sideline. You know, we had limited success offensively, but that never surfaced as far as being a part of the frustration of the game. It was just a very focused and determined group of players that played a pretty good team game, and you know, so that's a big positive. You know, I just liked what our mental set was during the course of the game.
What do you really like about your team right now, Dale? 6 games in, you're about mid-season.
Well, we're still developing, and our guys know that. You know, they believe that their best football is in front of them. I do think there's a unity within the group that's sincere, and you know, they want to get better. They want to take the next step as a team, and they're working very hard to do it. This has been, I don't want to say easy group to coach because we've been working hard, but they want to be coached. They want to get better. They want to take that next step. So, you know, that part of it is good to have, considering the ups and downs that we've had on the season.
You had those 3 big plays during the game, you know, but how do you get more production out of your offense at this point on an every down basis?
Well, you just keep running the play. You never know when the big play is going to present itself. Sometimes the only reason the big play presents itself is that the defense makes a mistake, and that's where you have to be in position to take advantage of that. And otherwise, most offensive plays are designed for limited success. You're just looking to get 4 or 5 yards here and there. Same thing with the passing game, you know, 6, 7, 8 yards here and there. You're just trying to be patient, and then when an opportunity presents itself, you want to be able to, you know, break a big play, and you know, that's the nature of offensive football.
You and I's had some turnovers, and North Dakota State took advantage of that. You know, you haven't done a great job of doing that so far. You know, what has to happen for you guys to turn those possessions into touchdowns?
And again, turnovers, you can't count on them being there. You know, again, it's one where you're coaching the emphasis in trying to create turnovers, which is how you tackle, how you gang tackle, get to the ball, you know, be ready for turnovers to occur. And same thing with interception, be in position, you do interception type drills. But the reality is you got to be ready to play it straight up and you know, execute a game plan to the point where you can win a game without the turnover benefit.
What kind of challenges does the homecoming game present?
Well, there's pluses and minuses with it. You know, that's where, talking to the team yesterday, they mentioned we're a pretty good road team. You know, I like having the team away from all the distractions that can be out there in a young man's college life, and you know, that's part of our challenge going into this week, is to eliminate and manage those distractions as they present themselves, especially when you get to that Thursday and Friday. That's when, as a coach, once they leave the building, you know, I have zero control of what happens. So you try to prepare them well, and you know, and I think they'll do a good job managing it. But that's always a concern.
Were you surprised by all the defensive battles, and do you expect one against Saturday?
I don't know if I can say surprise. I know we have a good defense. There's some good defenses in the league. You know, you got to be ready for any type of game. Though. I mean, realistically, it could easily be a shootout. You just don't know going in what would happen, and I don't even know how a game presents itself that turns into a shootout. You know, one week where you have a tough time getting a first down, and then the next week, you know, you got an offense that's putting up 40 points. You know, what's the rhyme or reason of that? Not real sure. You know, there's really no true way to predict it, but you know, you do want to have both. You know, offensively, if we got it open up to really start flinging it around, then we got to do it. But you know, at the same time, we want to execute our game plan, and we think we got a pretty good defense. So you know, we got to see how we stack up.
The game does turn into a shootout. Are you comfortable in the offense to keep up with the offensive game?
Well, again, it's how it, you know, know, your definition of the shootout, are we the ones putting up the points and they're playing catch up, or are they putting points and we're playing catch up, so it kind of depends on, how that direction of the game goes. So, if we're the ones having success, well, then naturally we'll be pretty confident in what we're doing, but if we're just trying to play catch up ball, then that's a whole different scenario.
Did you feel in control of the game, most of the game at Illinois State?
Yeah, just with the, it was back and forth. The block punt was huge. And, there's studies, anytime that you block and kick for a score, your chances of winning that game is pretty significant. And, when that play happened, you could just feel the confidence on the sideline reach a level where we felt good about our chances.
Coach, is there any concern about your offense becoming a little bit more predictable as the season progresses here?
Being predictable?
Yeah.
Well, I don't think we are, because if you were to watch our film from the week before to what we did this past weekend, there's enough changes, enough variables in there where there's no formation tendencies that we're giving. We've got the same people running the plays. But this past week, we used a lot of motions, a lot of misdirection, a lot of, almost window dressing, trying to present the plays, trying to give our backs a chance to hit the holes, help our offensive line, both with the run blocking and with the protection schemes. Formation-wise, we're switching that up considerably, all the way from too tight, too back to an empty set where there's 5 receivers out there. So it's, you're always worried about somehow the defense is getting a read on him, but at the same time, it's not as predictable as what fans probably think there is, as far as being the same game plan from week to week. That doesn't really happen.
With their special teams being so solid, do you expect that to play more of a factor this week in the game, or is it something that you have to prepare even more for?
Well, I think just with their kicking game, especially, field position is always key. We're benefiting from a good punter. They got a good punter, so that'll be a battle in itself. The two guys that are out there kicking the ball, coverage becomes extremely important. And then same thing with your kickers, is converting field goals, making field goals when you got an opportunity to make one, and that battle in itself kind of presents itself. So it's the whole special teams battle is pretty significant. It doesn't get the coverage that it probably deserves, but we're well aware of it as they are.
There was a point in the game on Saturday where there was a lot of high snaps. Were you able to determine what the issue was there? Was something going on with Tanner? Or?
Well, that's why we put Eric Bergman in at center, is we're trying to get it corrected and just couldn't get it corrected, so we put Eric in.
Will Eric start this week then?
Haven't decided on that yet. As far as right now, we're game planning. We haven't got to the personnel part of the decisions, but and this isn't something that Tanner's struggled with this before, and it's one of those. It's kind of like being a pitcher in baseball. Sometimes you just have a tough time throwing across the plate, and Tanner was just for some reason struggling with the high snaps, which really made it difficult on Corey, because a lot of times there were plays where we had zone read concepts where we're supposed to read what the defense is doing on the fake to the handoff, and we weren't able to do that just because we were busy grabbing the snap that was high. So that's a concern, something that we need to get better at, and I expect Tanner to get it corrected, but at the same time, Eric is ready to go.
You think you're going to use Muku a little bit more and use the 3 running backs?
Well, now we have been using the 3 a fair amount, especially with Mikael banged up a bit. Who's done a good job for us. Stephen was our player of the game offensively last week, and really did a good job carrying the load for us there. So all 3 need to be ready to go.
Is there an advantage to give, I don't know, to give Strother, or to give McCall 15 to 20 carries if they're on a roll, or do you like the diversity you use with those three right now?
Well, it's good to have the diversity. Now, you talk to any running back, you're not going to want to lead the game. You know, if I'm the tailback, I want 36 carries. But at the same time, I'm not the tailback, I'm the coach, and I want all three running backs being healthy and available, throughout the season. So that's what you got to prepare for.
And you and I, almost all their scoring drives are over 50 yards. Are you anticipating you may be in for some long drives defensively this weekend?
You're talking about Northern Iowa now?
Yeah.
As far as extended drives?
Yeah, a lot of their scoring drives are 70, 80 yards.
Well, that's their nature. I mean, they are a physical football team, as I indicated with their offensive line, with the size. They will try to grind you. They will be very patient with it. They got a good run game. They use the quick passing game. So that's kind of their personality. You look at the possessions in the games. You might only get 2 possessions in a quarter. So that's something else that'll be important, is making sure that each possession you have the ball, you're taking advantage of what you need to take advantage of, because whereas Eastern Illinois, you knew you were going to get double the possessions. Northern Iowa, you're going to have very limited possessions where you only get 6 or 7 and a half.
Did North Dakota State have a pressure game on UNI's quarterback, or did they just set back and if he completed one, tackle the guy? In other words, did they just have a vanilla defense and they were just too tough for him?
No, it's a good. The good defenses mix it up. And that's exactly what you got. You can't completely rely on pressure alone. And that's where I think that we've done a good job this year. Is we've been able to incorporate more of our base defense, even as their 3-man rushes, which were very productive for us on Saturday, where we've been able to sit back and play a little more zone, but at the same time we can turn up the heat and bring pressure. And that's what North Dakota State does. They got good, talented players, and they do a good job of mixing it up with their coverage schemes and with the pressure concepts.
Injuries for them have been a big part of their season, and with kind of a lack of depth. I mean, is it kind of an opportune time this game to use the tempo more, just to kind of?
They've had an off week, so they'll be coming in at 100%. So I don't know. I saw a quote where they were dealing with injuries, but the starting lineup that I see is the same as the starting lineup as the first game of the season. So I'm anticipating that they're pretty healthy and rested up.
After the game, Coach Brock Spack said his team, he thought, was living on the edge a little bit. Do you feel like your team was living on the edge a little bit these last 2 wins? Being able to squeak out some close wins by relying on your defense?
He was 5-0. We're 3-3. We're not living on the edge. We're fighting for survival. I mean, it's a completely different mentality here. We're fighting for that opportunity to still be alive that next week. So their situation, they were in some battles that they were fortunate to win that could have easily gone the other direction, and that was his reference there, is that his guys had been cutting it close, and it was just a matter of time before they might let one slip away, and that's, in his opinion, what happened last week.
Would you ever consider playing 2 FBS teams in 1 year, like Northern Iowa?
It's why you look at Northern Iowa, you look at Missouri State, it really puts you at a serious disadvantage during the season. Missouri State's a good football team. They got good players. They're battling everyone that they're playing, and they will battle everyone, but it does take its toll on you, and there's a physical toll. Plus, there's just that emotional anguish that anytime you have a loss, it doesn't matter which level you're playing, a loss takes a little bit out of you, and that's something that a win adds a lot to you. So the more losses you have, the tougher it is to rally.
If you guys win, Northern Iowa essentially has no shot of making the playoffs. Is that something you will address? Not that you guys need extra motivation for playing them, but is that something you will bring up with the players this week or address?
It's a must-win for them, it's a must-win for us. That's the reality of it. This is a significant game. It's game 7 on the season for us. It's one that has significance to it. If we want to, feel we still have possibilities the next week, this is important for us to do well on this game. And plus, you put the factor in, it's Northern Iowa. So it's, if anything, what you try to do is clear the table and keep the focus on us against them, and not have all the other side effects of the picture.
Dale, any update on Paul McIntosh? Think he's coming back this year?
Well, right now it looks very doubtful. We're not prepared to make any statement on it just because I haven't talked to Paul, but I don't see him returning in the near future, and the near future is getting pretty close to the end of the season.
All right, any more questions for Coach?
Was Jason, was his a rib injury? What was his deal on Saturday?
Yeah, it's one of those long names, that's some abdominal, something. But we're anticipating that he'll be fine.
And Mikhail's right knee was fine?
Yeah, another one of those longer terms that our trainer uses. I call it a knee bruise, but he has a different term for it.
Are you expecting both of them to practice tomorrow, or do you think you're going to keep them out?
We'll see. Mikhail should be able to practice. And, Jason, I think he'll be moving around. He'll be doing stuff. I don't know if he'll be in full pads or not, but he'll definitely be active.
One more question. Is there a difference between what left outside linebacker does and what a right outside linebacker does? In other words, can you move guys? I guess you did, didn't you?
Yeah, ours are interchangeable.
Yeah,
so
because Williamson was right, wasn't he? And then he moved to
In fact,
the other way around.
for our terminology, we call one a stud, who usually goes to the tight end side, and one's a Zeke, who usually goes to the open side. So our stud.
But he was backing up the lead before, and he moved
Right.
over to.
And you can play, yeah, they're mirrored positions, you gotta know both, but it's kind of a matter of preference. Usually you like to have a more physical outside backer lining up on your tight end, and then a little more athletic guy that's working in open space. Just by coincidence, I mean, our guys right now really could play either or, so that's not a big switch for them going. But left-right doesn't exist in the linebacker world. You play on either side. Strength does. You usually line up according to strength of the formation.
Has Williamson made a case for significant playing time after Saturday? Or
That's not in his personality to come in and say, okay, coach, I want to be playing more.
Well, no, I just mean in general. Do you expect to use him? I mean, obviously you can't.
We've been playing him a fair amount, and,
Yeah.
again, the confidence in him now is higher. So, it's nice when, in fact, you looked at, wanted to give Jason DeMonch a tough time. He goes down. Well, the 2 plays later, the guy that replaced him was Cameron James, who goes in, blocks the punt, that leads to the touchdown. And then the guy that replaced him as an outside backer was Tyler Williamson, who goes on to our defensive player of the game. So, what does that say for Jason? I don't know.
Is that how well he played? Is that a matter of just getting it finally and being in the right spot? He looked like he was in the right spot just about every time.
He prepared well enough so that when the game did present itself to him, he was able to make the plays. He did what he was supposed to do. That interception, he had what he calls a buzz call, where we're showing that we're in tight, but we're just turning and running the flat, trying to take away that underneath route to that perimeter throw, and that's exactly what he did, and the ball came right to him. On a couple of the sacks, he wasn't the guy that flushed the quarterback, but he was the guy that cleaned up on the quarterback. So again, he was very assignment sharp in everything that he did, and the game kind of presented itself to him where he was able to make plays when the opportunities were there. And that's kind of what football is like on defense. You can't always just go out and take control of a game. Sometimes you got to have the game present itself to you.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Coach.